All right, so learning target 2 is all about the coordinates, okay? So let's go ahead and let's just go through some of the problems here first. So 3, 4, and I'm talking about reflecting across the y-axis. So here's my y-axis. So I know that I have to go an equal distance directly across from the y-axis. It's 3 away, that means that 3, 4 has to go to negative 3, 4, okay? And some people wrote about that distance. They wrote that it had to be 3 away, so they knew it had to be negative 3. Some people wrote down that the rule was xy to negative xy. Some people drew the whole triangle and they wrote that their justification was the drawing, okay? And then what would happen if it reflected across the x-axis? You could have written out in words something like the y value changes. You could have written x negative y. You could have actually taken the point and written out 3 negative 4. There was lots of options there. Okay, 90 degrees counterclockwise rotation. 3, 4 is going to be graphed over here at a y of 3 and an x of negative 4. Okay, our rotation would be up here. Okay, so that would be negative 4, 3. You could have remembered the rule. Oops. Or you could have used the drawing. You could have written any number of things about why you chose that answer. And then what were to happen if it were rotated 180 degrees? The original point would be negative xy. It would have been negative 3, negative 4. It would have been over here. Oops. Could have drawn it out. Whatever you needed to do to show me the 180 degree rotation. Okay, the next one, translated to the left 2 and down 3. We're going to go left 2 and down 3. And we've got our point, 1, 1. Why did you choose your answer? Some people said look at the drawing. Some people said you needed to take x minus 2 and y minus 3. Okay. Then it's saying what would happen to 3, 4 if it were translated to the right 2? So if this point was to the right 2. So 3, 4 would become 5, 4. Or you could write that the x would add 2 and the y would stay the same. You could write it out in words. You could say add 2 to the x value. Okay. All right, next one, dilation by a factor of 2. You wouldn't even have to draw this one, okay? A dilation by the factor of 2 means I just need to take both net values times 2. So that means 6, 8. And a lot of people wrote that they just knew that they needed to times by 2 or multiply by 2. If it were dilated by a factor of a half, it would become 1.52. You could also write, you would take 0.5 times 3 and 0.5 times 4. You could have also just said that the triangle would get smaller. Okay? So, you've got 3 different rules here. I wanted to know what type of transformation. You got to think about what doing that to the variables will do. So if all I'm doing is adding 1 to x and subtracting 10 from y, should have been y, then what's going to happen is it's going to be translated. Okay? If I look at the next one, if I multiply them both by 2, that's a dilation. That means the shape's going to get 2 times bigger. Now if I take xy and all I do is change the x to a negative, that's going to reflect the figure across the y-axis. So that's the answer for that one.